You can learn Spanish in just weeks if you define what learning Spanish actually means for you. Like, what exactly does that mean for you? So, to give you a little bit of context of how I arrived to this conclusion, is basically that I also teach English here where I live in my country. And I realized that if you actually define exactly what you want to or what you want to do, you can actually come up with a quicker solution. Like you can, in this case, if you want to learn Spanish, but you have to define really exactly like what exactly do you want to learn or what exactly do you want to be able to do with Spanish. If you have clarity on that, you can actually come up with ideas to arrive to that point like very quick in just weeks instead of months of years of learning. I realized that, for example, someone who wants to just talk to maybe if it, like to go to travel, you will have to think of, okay, what situations am I going to be in? Am I going to be in the airport? I'm going to be in a hotel, and exactly what situations you're going to be in. And just learning Spanish for that, like just learning Spanish to be able to communicate at the hotel, to be able to communicate at the airport, and just the context where you are going to be. You don't need anymore if that's only what you need. So you don't need to be like, for example, watching series for 1 year if that's not what you need. So actually, I I literally recommend for you if you're watching this and you want to learn Spanish, at first define that like really clear. It has to be extremely clear. You have to define success. What's success for you in learning Spanish? And once you have that ready, you can come up with ideas to learn that very quick. So I would say that. And also, once you already have this, you have to analyze what are the key actions that you're going to take in order to arrive there, right? So in the case of language learning, this pretty much in order that we already know, which is basically input and output. First to read and listen, and that will help you with your speaking and writing. So in the case of the example that I was given, that you can analyze situations maybe for someone who's going to travel, and you can basically see what are the situations that you're going to be in, and to start to create a conversation, for example, about that, and start to listen and read that conversation. That will help you then with your speaking because normally you have to speak, you will have to remember those words. And also, what is really helpful is to create like some simulations of conversations. Basically, again, the situations that you're going to be in, and what are you supposed to say, right? So, if by doing that, those simulations will give you like if will give you the words that you know one that you need. So maybe some of them you already know, so great. But maybe it will give you new information about what words you need to learn. So that's also really powerful. And yeah, basically that's the order that you need to follow. And that's pretty much the idea that I wanted to share today. And also to be constant. Like it's so much better to just spend like 15 minutes on doing this than every day than to do it like one day and then maybe after 1 week and all that stuff, like to not think constant. So constant is very key for this. And really, I mean it, like literally just 15 minutes a day. If you actually focus on those 15 minutes and you do it, you will realize you will have pretty much awesome results if you actually do it for a long period of time. Also, another tip that I can share now is repetition. I remember that sometimes you just like want to learn something and you're always looking for something new and something new and something new. For example, I was also learning German, and I remember that I was like always looking for some like new words, new things basically. And sometimes we forget that learning, it's not always about new information or new things to do, but what you already know, to master it, to practice it, not until you get it right, but until you can't get it wrong. And that's key in life and in basically language learning. So maybe you already know some words in Spanish, but it's not enough because maybe you know some words, but you don't recognize them quick. It's like, okay, I think I saw this word. Oh yeah, this word means that. But it took you some seconds to get there. And actually, to be able to be fluent, you need to recognize like this, isn't the words that you, it's like no thinking or no time for thinking. You need to be able to recognize them really fast. So that's also another thing that I would focus on, and it's repetition. Not always trying to look for new material, but also practicing with the same material, because repetition is really key. I think those are the two key parts: repetition and being constant. If you master that, you could learn like not only Spanish but basically anything. So about the key point or the key idea for this video, if you want to learn Spanish really quick, is to define success. So really, define what exactly does that mean. Why exactly you're learning Spanish? Because I remember that in my case, for example, when I was learning English, and if you ask me for the reason behind, it was pretty generic or general. Like I didn't know probably what to say. Yeah, because it's important and just that. That's very vague. That's not helpful yet. Like you need to be learning something for a reason. So in the case of Spanish, you need to be learning it for a reason, and you need to have extreme clarity on that reason. So and actually that's why I started to learn English for a long time, and always trying to learn words and words and words and words, but without a specific goal. Like I mean it helped me because, well, by learning new words we can start expressing more and we understanding more. But at the end of the day, it's like, what's the utility of this? Like, why am I learning a lot of words? Or why am I continue learning English? Well, what's the goal? What's the end goal? And I realized that I was learning words that probably, I mean, all words are helpful, but again, you need to, like, what's helpful? First, you need to define why you were learning something in the first place. And if you already achieved the reason, then probably it's not helpful anymore, or, well, basically just that. So, for example, I was starting to learn English, such as armpit, which means axilla in Spanish. And it's like, what am I going to use that word? And hey, why am I learning this kind of words? And that's why, because I didn't have clarity on why I was learning English. So I really recommend you to have clarity on this. If you have clarity, that's great, believe me. So that's basically the idea that I wanted to share with you in the video of today. As always, please leave me in the comments if things that you would like to learn, so I can have more ideas to share with you. And also, as always, I'll be leaving here my Instagram and my WhatsApp, because I offer personalized help with Spanish. So in case you want to chat about that, you can reach out to me in those like you can call for me on this on Instagram or on by WhatsApp. So until next video, bye bye.